Today is the day that we stand, we walk. It's not about career.
Yes.
It's not about money.
No.
It's about your right to live as a human being. So, our memory.
George Floyd.
George Floyd.
George Floyd.
George Floyd. George Floyd.
As we mentioned, we are keeping a close eye on the protest tonight in Minneapolis following the death of George Floyd, the unarmed black man who died after a white officer detained him and pinned him down by kneeling on Floyd's neck.
And my black women being shot, being killed by the NYPD.
I do think there has been a bit of change, especially within the workplace, as organisations are now starting to hold themselves accountable when it comes to diversity and equity in the workplace.
Things have certainly changed, not in a amazing way, not in a massive way as we want it to yet.
I think there is a bit of a change in terms of how, especially with the social media world, it has generated a lot of, how should I say, notice, but at the same time a lot of awareness throughout what's going on throughout the world.
I don't think anything has really changed in the year at all. Like, it's insane, like nothing has changed at all. Maybe it's worse.
Since the Black Lives Matter protest has happened, we've had the case of Belly Majinga was reopened and investigated in the manner it should have been in the first place.
It's not until we really see action being taken by senior members of the teams of workplaces to really ensure that, black people are being paid equally, in addition to having equal treatment compared to their counterparts.
We were able to see certain changes. We were able to see certain things being implemented, but according to the list that we had, it's still not completed through and through. And even down to making up a list, because we actually had a list of things that we wanted to see changing within the system, within the workplace, etc., etc.
Once you can bring down the wall of one injustice, say for example racism, it then opens the door to other injustices and making sure that equality is something that we have going on in this country.
I was part of planning petitions for Belly Majinga's case, and literally nothing has happened. There's been no justice. The police refuses to release the name of the man that spat on her.
A lot of work still needs to be done outside the workplace, within our realms of society, within education, within the health institutions as well. So I do feel like there's still a lot of work that does need to be done. I'm just happy that a lot of people are more aware of the problems that have been going on for centuries old now.
The wall of injustice, sexism and racism is so thick. This is something that we're going to have to chip away at for many years to come. So I'm hoping that this is something that, now that people are waking up to, are actually going to continue to do this, not just protesting physically, but joining in online, social media, spreading the word as much as possible.
We, as people from the outside world, coming from outside of the black community, we need to look within the deeper context of why it's such a big issue, an underlying issue that has been facing for decades and generations for the black community. And myself, as a photographer, coming from a different culture, I always believe in being an advocate for that and seeing a change of how things are dialected through photography, through the social media world, but as well as people's awareness about it. And I feel like the actual name of George Floyd has really created such a big, how should I say, circle of revolution around people to really bring more extra awareness together.
And then now the police officer who has actually murdered George Floyd has now been taken to trial and is being tried for first-degree murder. So fingers crossed that there's hope that the system's actually waking up to what is actually going on.
We saw some things being put into place, but at times we saw certain changes that we didn't ask for, right? For example, we saw a lot of people who jumped on a bandwagon for performative activism. So we saw people, for example, changing characters from movies, changing a voiceover of a character in a cartoon, and that has, that has nothing to do with anything, to be honest with you. As much as I understand their gesture, at the end of the day, the cause is a lot more bigger than that. It's a lot more bigger than changing the voice of a character in a cartoon. We are fighting for equality. So we have been able to see, some changes. I can't say a substantial amount of changes yet, but we're still fighting our way through it. So that's why we keep fighting anyway.
See, the thing about the George Floyd situation is these things should have been continuously going on from decades upon decades, when we lost people like Rashad Charles and everyone that has lost their lives within the black community to like police, let's just say. And I feel for them it's where it's brought more awareness.
Judge Peter Cahill there in the courthouse in Minneapolis, hearing those verdicts. Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder, guilty. Count 2, third-degree murder, guilty. And count 3, second-degree manslaughter, also guilty. Guilty of all the charges.